Hi everyone, welcome to December's Q&A. How is it December already? Like how did that happen? Where did 2022 go? So, I will give you some time to come on and hopefully you've got some questions for me this month. Um, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I actually love answering questions, so it's something that I'm always quite happy to do. I was like, oh, I've got this morning. So while you come on, I'm going to clean my glasses. I'm very casual this morning. It is the last working day of this week for me. I'm going on holiday tomorrow. So I'm a bit casual. I had a meeting with someone on my team this morning. I've got you guys now. I've been doing some marking for one of the universities that I work for. And I will soon be finished up for the week. So who is going to join today? Hopefully someone's going to come on and ask some questions. I am going to check the thread. I will just check that on my phone because sometimes people put questions in there, and we'll see what stuff you've got to ask. Let me have a little look on the question thread. No. Oh, no questions? I'm pretty sure it is not because everyone has got no questions. I suspect that everyone is a little bit busy at this time of year. So I will hang around in case any of you want to join me just now. And what I will do instead is just give you some updates perhaps on what you might want to be thinking about going into 2023 for working with corporates. Hang on one second, I just need to close some other windows because that is what it's telling me to do. Okay, that's some stuff closed down. So, hi Nicola, welcome along to our Q&A. It's you and me at the moment so far. So if you have got any questions, go ahead and hit me with them. You haven't been to one of our Q&As before. It can get quite busy. I do love to answer questions, so don't hold back. Feel free. That's one of my favourite things to do. Is when people are like, "I've just got this little thing." I'm like, "Yep, I'm all over it. Give me the question. I'll hit you with the answer." Not literally, obviously. So if you've got questions, do please feel free to ask. Everyone is at such different stages. Like some of you are winning some corporate work, some of you are winning lots of corporate work, some of you are still figuring out what actually the corporate work you want to do is and who you want to work with. So everyone is at really quite different stages. So your questions will all apply to each other at different stages. And the reality is, sometimes even when you've been doing this for ages, some of the basics still trip you up. So I know that. Oh, great! Nicola's got some questions. Go for it. You can either ask to join and come on, or you can just type them into the comments and I will answer them. Either is up to you. I know that last week, so it's been a really busy week for putting out proposals to corporates for us. It's a bit like buses, you're working away on stuff and then suddenly things all start flying in. And we had that last week where we had proposals to get out to an existing client, but a new department in that client, and one of them's actually my old colleague. So that I always feel like a little bit more pressure on that because I'm like, oh, they kind of know me, so they know like I never want to take advantage of connections, so I always feel like okay, it has to be really good. Like it has to be. I'm not a perfectionist, I have to say, but I'll be like, right, that has to be really good. Um, so that had to go out. We had a new client who I am super excited if we win work with them. Like I actually was so excited to have the meeting with them because I was just like, I really want to work with these people. Like what they do is amazing. It's work that I love. They are Europe's biggest conservation society. I love doing conservation work, and some of my favourite projects have been like restoring old assets and bringing them back to life. Like I love that kind of work, so I'm really excited to try and get some work with them. So it meant that we had a lot of proposals plus our big Canadian contract that we have won the 5-year framework. They sent us 4 different projects and said, can you, it's something called a request for services, can you complete a request for services on these? So we had lots and lots of proposals to do, so it was really just like head down, get these done, get these out the door to like a proper high standard. Um, Nicola, if you usually you'll have a button that will just say request to join. I think it should work from mobile. Let me see if I can invite you to join. I know it definitely works on laptop, but does it work? I'm just going to see the little dots beside you. Nope, oh, that doesn't give me the chance to ask you. Should be able to just like click on and it should say request to join. Tell me if that's working for you. I am very glad you've joined the corporate club. I've been watching your stuff for ages. I'm like, yeah, you definitely get corporate work. And it's so needed. That this is definitely, people are having such a tough time at the moment. But people are just, I read something yesterday that said, let's face it, every one of us started this year in mid recovery from the last 2 years that have happened. So, and it was like a nice phrase along the lines of like, no one started 2022 with a full tank. And I thought that's so accurate. So many customers that we work with, like they started this year depleted, and that is almost just like gone further this year. Like I feel like so many of them are tired out. So anything that is in that space of helping people manage, cope, and also sometimes say, I'm not coping, like this is not working, we need more help, more rest, whatever it is. Because the temptation in corporate can be to prop it up so we can continue with the norm. And sometimes actually what we have to do is stop and change things. I'm assuming, Nicola, that that's not working for you. Hopefully you should be able to just click and it will say, it usually comes up saying something like ask to join, um, asked to join the broadcast, and I usually just click yes and it lets you on. You can't let to see. Yeah, I don't know why that's not letting you do it, Nicola. Because I definitely, we've had people do it before. Okay, pop your question in there. I don't know who else has joined. I can see someone else has joined other than me and Nicola, but I don't know who it is. So say hello, and if you've got questions, go for it. Let's answer your questions. It's the last Q&A of this year. Oh, hello, Naomi. Are you still celebrating, Naomi? Are you still on a bit of a high? I hope you are. And have you got any questions to ask me? Because I am happy to answer anything. All right, Nicola's first question is about niche. Okay, go for it. Ask me about your niche. Yeah, Naomi, you have had a great month. Like, what a nice finish to the calendar year you've had. I hope you're planning to celebrate and be very excited. I love a strong finish to the year because I think it just means like when you start the next year, you're like, yes, we finished strong, we're good to go. I think this year some people are just like, I'm just limping over the finish line and having a rest, and that's okay. But it's nice to finish on a month like you've just had. And hey, you've still got the rest of December. It's only the second, so yeah, who knows what this month's going to bring for you? Exciting. I think next year. Oh, let me have a quick drink and I'll read Nicola's question. So, Nicola's question, I'll read it out because not everyone can necessarily see comments at the same time. Nicola's question is, in B2C, so that's business to consumer, I've been focusing on my ideal client as a female in business, entrepreneur or in corporate. With business to business, I have been more open in my initial comms, but I'm a bit confused and nervous about saying I focus on women only, so wondering which direction to go in. Okay, good question. Do you want to only focus on women? Let me just check that with you, Nicola. Yep, and I've seen your stuff. I'm pretty sure I've looked at your website too. I certainly thought it was focused predominantly at women. To just let me know if like if in the corporate sector you still want to focus predominantly on women. Pregnant pause while we wait for the answer there. Oh, just read Naomi's. So Naomi's just had another email this morning about another project. Oh wow, Naomi, you are going to have a busy 2023. That's what's great when your pipeline is just starting to fill up with all of that work, and it's all just starting to like give you that certainty that you've got plenty of work in the future, and you're not worried about like where's the next thing coming from? So imminently, you've got a bit of pace on it. That's great. So Nicola's saying, I kind of want to only focus on women for one-to-one coaching, and my big purpose is to normalise healthy habits so kids grow up knowing how and why to take care of themselves. Yep, great, that makes sense. But not sure about in corporate, as I know I could impact all genders. Okay, cool. So what I would say is, if you want to work in corporate, it is easier if you're not necessarily focused on one particular gender, because it's quite difficult in corporate to create things that are gender specific. Now they will have them. I know clients that have got like women's networks, or they'll I know one organisation that has a men's club because they work in an industry that's kind of famous for toxic masculinity and things. So they have a men's club that also focuses on getting men to talk about their health. Those are quite difficult to justify, hard to set up, and then if you're selling into them, you're selling into quite small groups within corporates. Actually, if you're a bit more spread and working with both genders and no gender, that will be a lot easier for you getting in the door. Now, if you go in and you're offering something that 90% of the audience that turn up are women, or 100% of the audience that turn up are women, that's fine. It's not necessarily a problem for you. But unless you're doing something that's like topic specific to women, so for example menopause, or on men's health, you know, there are specific topics. So if you're not doing that, I think it's much easier for you to say that in corporate you basically deal with the person that you're bringing an approach. So I think that's a better focus for you. Don't worry about having different messaging for consumers and corporates. So a few people on here have got websites. A few people who did the corporate method last year have got websites where their messaging for their consumers is one thing. So here's what I offer, here's who I offer it to, here's the results you get from it. And then they have a different piece that basically says, here's what we offer for corporates. So I think that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about them being different messages, because they know what they're looking for. Let me see your answer. You know, business to business don't necessarily look at your socials and website, but they're all focused towards her. I'm thinking, should I make my little website a little less B2C only focused? I would actually, I'm pretty sure I've looked on your website, and I think it's really good. You're right, business to business won't really look at your socials. Like they won't really look at Facebook, Instagram, unless they were buying a product that is social media from you. So I wouldn't worry about them seeing the stuff on there and seeing that that's all for women. Don't worry about that at all. On your website, you can either make it less consumer focused, or you can just have a page on your website that specifically talks about your corporate offer. So it can just talk about what you offer for corporates, and it won't necessarily put them off that in your consumer market you specialise in one type of person. And if they ask about it, you can explain, well, actually, you know, I work with anyone, but my niche is working with women when I work in the consumer market. So I don't think you have to worry too much about them being put off by the fact that you specialise in women, partly because women are more likely to invest in health and well-being than men, so they know it's a bigger market. And also women quite often like to work with women when it's those kind of topics. So I wouldn't worry too much. Like, don't change your website for the sake of them not thinking that you can work with both, unless that's what you want to do. But I would have a particular page that talks about the corporate piece that's really generic. So Nicola's saying, yeah, I like that idea about a corporate page on my website. It's been thinking that would be an easier tweak to make. I think it really is. Like, I see some people trying to speak to two audiences through one web page, and it gets really complicated unless you sell the exact same thing to both. But even then, the messaging is different. So I see it get complicated. Where there's a nice corporate page, it's easy for you also just to send that to people. So on LinkedIn, you know, if people ask for your page, that's the page you send them to, because you don't want to have to add narrative to say, this is my consumer page, but I can change this for corporate. Do you want to just, like, the key acronym to remember for corporates is this, BLUF, and it stands for bottom line up front. like corporates consume so much information that they really want to get the bottom line as quickly as possible. So whereas a consumer lands on your page, and yes, they are sifting, but they're looking for what appeals to them personally. But when it's a corporate organisation, what they're looking for is what's the bottom line here? Like, what do you do? When do you do it? Much does it cost? How do I get more information from you? So I would say that a corporate page would work really well for you. And feel free to ask more about that Nicola. So Naomi is saying that's very helpful about gender. I have to go, but if you can advise about an email newsletter or LinkedIn newsletter, that'd be great as I'll pop back to the recording. Yes. So I have basically got rid of my email newsletter for corporates and switched to a LinkedIn newsletter for corporates. And it was actually because, so Liz Allen, who's in this group, had started doing LinkedIn newsletters. I'd signed up to it. I found it really useful to be able to send it to some of my clients and say, hey, I think you should have a look at Liz as a supplier for continuous improvement. Here's a way to read her newsletters. And I then asked Liz, hey, this seems really good. And she told me about like our sign up rates and the read rates. So we actually switched over from doing an email newsletter to a LinkedIn newsletter. What we found is it is much better. So we've got more people opening it, more people responding. We've had inquiries from people who we've never worked from before, who said, hey, someone in another organisation sent me your newsletter. I love this little video. Can you tell us more? So we're really finding that it's good. And next year, we've got a major strategy on that LinkedIn newsletter piece. What I've found is that works really well is keep it to 500 words, because then it doesn't become a huge burden on you. And also, if you can give a very useful piece of information, it's a little bit different from consumer social media where people like want to be entertained, they want to hear stories, they want to get know you. The LinkedIn newsletter is really about giving people purposeful, useful information that they can do something with. So sometimes we will link to a webinar, or we link to like a little explainer video. The niche that we work in, people spend all their time trying to explain what it is. So we've made some explainer videos and we put that out. And that's the one that like even people that I used to work with have been in touch, been like, hey, I saw your video, loved it. We've put that video out quite a lot, but that newsletter got it into more people's inboxes than anything. So yeah, totally recommend LinkedIn newsletter. Have a bit of a strategy for it. Some people send them weekly. I'll be honest, when I was in corporate, I would never have read a weekly newsletter. I was getting hundreds and hundreds of emails a day, about 250 to 300 a day, and would spend 12 hours in meetings and then have my work to do. I would never have read a weekly newsletter. Some people may, so it kind of depends on their workload, what they're doing, their seniority. Monthly, I think, is enough. But if you've got the capacity to do it weekly and you know you've got clients that would read it weekly, then absolutely do that. So yeah, that's, if there's anything else, Naomi, just pop a question in the group and I'll ask it. I'll answer it. I used to do an internal newsletter when I worked in a big organisation, so I would write to my whole profession every month, and I would write like a little something personal that I knew kind of identified me as being in their tribe, because we were, and I use the word tribe very, very carefully. I would never use that like in external communications now, because my understanding of the use of that word has evolved. But at the time, we very much talked about being of the same tribe. So I would write something that would kind of demonstrate that every month, because we were all quite like railway engineers and geeky people. So I would kind of let them know that. The role we did kind of put us as outsiders to the team and to the management a lot of the time. So I would write about stuff like that. So if you can do things like that in your newsletter that just show people, hey, I know you, I am you, that can be a very powerful way of identifying with them. But it has to be genuine, like it has to be authentic. I've seen people do that in a way that just falls flat, because you're just making that up. So it kind of has to come from the heart, I guess I would say. Hey Neo, haven't seen you for a while. I'm loving your social media stuff. It's making me want to start a manufacturing plant, I have to say. I'm like, I want to make things. I want to make products, and then I'm like, I cannot make products. Like, I need to just use Neo's products and enjoy it. But I am loving the way you're showing like the back of how your process works and the science bit. Like, I think it's really inspirational. I think a lot of people will be looking at it going, I want to do that. But yeah, absolutely love it. So what have you missed? What do you include on the corporate page? So what you include on the corporate page, if you're going to have, how do I see you? I see everything, Neil. I'm always watching. Um, so what you include in the corporate page is very, very much different from the consumer page. But what you want to put on there are key things. You want to put on there what you offer to corporates and what business problem it solves for them. So it's a bit different from taking like the consumers on the emotional journey. You're really putting in there what the answer to their business problem is. So identify the business problem they're having, tell them how what you've got solves that. That's what you want to get in there. And your credentials. So credentials really matter to corporates. So whereas a consumer might be like, hey, that person like has just said that they are a whatever, I'm going to buy from them. A corporate will say, okay, let's find out a little bit more about this person. What is their credentials for selling us the thing they are offering? And that's what they're going to look at. What is the story behind the brand? So if I think of Neo's brand, a corporate audience who are going to look to either bring her in to deliver our formulation courses, or who are going to say, actually, let's bring her in to talk about how she is one of the only black women in manufacturing in the UK and killing it right now. If she's over in Sweden representing her product and showing people like this is how you can have like an ethical, vegan, I'm going to miss something, sustainable product, like everything that is the right way to do manufacturing. It is what your product is. Someone going onto your website sees that on the first page. So if they log on to Uhuru Botanicals, the first thing I see is what your business stands for. That's exactly what a corporate audience wants to see. Like what is the story, the value behind your brand. So that is really good. The other thing that corporates want to be able to do is get in touch with you very easily. So they don't want to follow like a whole chain into your funnel. Like your funnel has to be really quick at getting them in touch with you. So if they want to set up a meeting with you or chat to you, they want to be able to do that easily. They quite often email you. They won't usually use language like discovery calls. So just saying, get in touch with me here or have a call here. They'll quite often want to phone you or email you. So that's kind of what you need there. The thing I would say as well, major difference between writing for consumers and writing for corporates. When you're writing for consumers, adjectives are your friend. Everyone wants to know how it feels, imagine how it smells, think about how it touches. Like real sensory language is really powerful. Not with corporates. Adjectives are not your friend when you're working with corporates. Keep it much more basic language, not basic information, basic language. So let me go back to Nicola here. I am using a single-use plastic today, and I have to say I am super self-conscious about it because I generally do not buy single-use plastics. But I went to London on Wednesday and then came back last night. It was a real flying visit. I got loads done in the time I was there. But when I got on the train on Wednesday, I got on the train with no cash, because who's using cash anymore? And no food and no drink. And I think I had a banana and a coffee in the morning. Got on the train at like 11 or something. I think I got there 11:33, and they made an announcement just as we left Glasgow that the machine wasn't working and it was a cash only. So by the time I got to London at 5:30, I was pretty hungry. I was so thirsty. I could have been like a dog drinking out the toilet bowl. So last night I got to the station to come home and it was 5:30 and I was getting on the train. I wasn't going to get into Glasgow till 11:20 and I thought I cannot not have any food or drink. So I grabbed like a sandwich deal at WH Smith's and the bottle of water. So now I've got it, I feel like I have to drink it and then recycle it. That was a long story about why I feel like that, but it does actually really matter to me about using stuff like single-use plastics. I felt terrible. Right, Nicola, what is your question on the blood? So I'll read this out in case anyone can't see it. On the bluff, I've been trying to nail my wording in my cold lead generation emails, and I'm struggling with what's in it from them, as it always ultimately comes back to increased productivity and profitability. I really want to try to say it in an impactful way, that what I'm offering is about helping people to value themselves through knowing why and how to take care of themselves, because I know this leads to you feeling so much more empowered, which has tons of ripple effects like being a happier employee and what this results in, etc. How could I say this in a way that makes the organisation care this is something they should invest and support in? Okay, great question, and you you have hit the nail on the head of what lots of people in health and wellbeing struggle with in their messaging. So you're kind of battling against the fact that in reality corporate organisations care more about productivity and profitability than people. Now, that's because that's the thing that has, even ones that are really people focused, if they're not productive and they don't make a profit, they won't exist. So that has to come as a core principle. And the reality is that that will always be an underlying principle that you have to talk about and you have to demonstrate. But I know what you mean. There are a lot of very good organisations who actually do value people as their first asset. I mean, that's just good business. Like, if you don't value your people first, you won't have a business eventually. And I think a really nice way of doing it, if you're struggling with it, is to look at something like Q12. I wonder if I've got the book behind me. Let me just grab this. Quick reverse here. My weirdly long arms come in handy at times. So I don't know if you've read this book. I'll try and get the reverse camera angle. Here, 12 the elements of great managing. So this is all about a survey called Q12. And what Q12 is an employee engagement survey. It's run by Gallup. It's the most famous and the most data-based employee engagement survey in the world. And Q12 is called that because it's based on the 12 questions that Gallup know if people answer strongly agree to these 12 questions, it demonstrates the most engaged workforce. Now, why do you want an engaged workforce? They're more profitable, they're more productive, people are happier, people support each other, people stay, they're safer, all of these things. So all the stuff that you're trying to talk to them about, Nicola. So that's a really good resource to go and look at, to bring the different key points of that out that you can relate to. And that's a nice way to then talk about that in your emails to them. So it's about, what else happens when people are happier at work, all of these things. And the reason I suggest having a look at this book, you can probably get it maybe in the library, but this tells 12 different stories relating to each one of those 12 questions. And I just wondered if maybe having a look at some of that would help you think about, okay, let me tell that, because telling the story will be the key piece. So telling the story of why these different areas that you can improve sends out that ripple effect and makes it happen around the workforce is a really good way of doing it. But you will always have to relate it back to productivity and profitability, because that's what they're under pressure to deliver. And even organisations, I work for a lot of organisations who don't have to make a profit because they don't distribute shares, basically they're government funded, but productivity is huge for them. Does that answer your question? Feel free to ask other parts to it. But yeah, I was trained by Gallup in doing the employee engagement action planning for managers, and I had to go out and deliver that honestly in quite a tough environment, to people who'd just come off the night shift, who are working on very, very difficult environments, safety critical, and they'd had a series of fatalities not that long previously, and we were in talking about why you want employees to be happy and engaged, and people's immediate reaction is always the problem, always the aggression. This gave us really good formats for being able to go in and say, we hear all of that, that's all valid, here's how we move forward to get the answers that you want. Nicholas saying, have a look at that book, great advice. It's like I know it in my head, yeah. And do you know what's a good way to do that? And I see this loads actually with people who are experts in their field, not just in health and well-being. Your knowledge is so solidified and so in depth that so all your neural pathways are all built around and this intrinsic understanding of how what you do improves people's lives, that actually unpicking that back to like a very simple connection between one cause and one effect can be quite difficult, because you'll be like, yeah, but everyone obviously knows that, or but that's obvious. It won't always be obvious to your audience, and it won't always be obvious to corporate people. In the world that you work in, that's an evolving space. It's not like, you know, drink water, eat vegetables, that's everything we know about health and well-being, and it's never changed, and you're trying to remarket it in a new way. There's lots of developments around, you know, the neuroscience, our understanding of like the body as a system, our understanding of well-being is actually a key marker for life and business and happiness and everything. So you can take some of like those little things and just share the information with them, like what you might think is obvious. People will be like, wow, did not know that. So if you can put some of that out there, that can be a good way of doing it. And a thing you can do, because there's always that thing of, oh my goodness, I'm sending this out to people. Are they going to read it and go, yeah, we know that? Or are they going to read it and go, oh, super useful, thanks Nicola, we need to book you. You can use this group to post stuff like that. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to write an email about this and I'm just not sure, like drop it in the group and tag me and I'll have a look and say, yeah, I think that would work. Or I think sometimes people send stuff that's too hard. We used to have a person who did email us loads of stuff about neuroscience, and like I loved his work in person, but my god, his emails were like reading a thesis, and I'd be like, I can't read an email that I need to go and like search 42 terms before I can translate it. So feel free to drop stuff into the group and just say like, I'm thinking of putting that stuff out. No one in here is going to like steal it and put it out there. Everyone in here's very good people, so you could do that. Yeah, I think sometimes just grabbing someone to say, can I just talk to you about 10 ideas I've got for writing stuff out? It's a good way to do it. Like we all get caught in our own head sometimes. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I'm trying to write like the simplest version of the thing that we teach people to do in corporate organisations, and sometimes I'm like, is that patronising or is that useful information? So I will literally phone someone up and be like, do you think I need to tell people this? And they're like, yeah, you have to tell people that, because they do, like, we didn't know it when we started. I'm like, oh yeah, neither we did. So hopefully that is helpful. But I know what you mean. You can get a bit stuck in the how do I make this. Um, there's, I don't know if it's in this group. There's a little session I do on basically how you relate what you do to the different business problems that businesses have. If it's not in this group, I will do that session. We do it as part of the corporate method course, but I can also do it just like as a little brief session to say, here are there are basically 4 types of business problem every business has, and actually health and well-being solves most of them. Not in its entirety, but it actually will give solutions to most of them. So I'll maybe do that little session in here. I'll check that it's not already in here, because I don't know if it is. It might be it might be in the first training session that we ever did, which would be in October, which would be who to work with, or it might be in the second one, how to know what to offer. All those training sessions, Nicola, are in Kartra, so you can go in and watch them. But I'm just going to take a little note so I don't forget, because I'm going on holiday tomorrow, if I didn't mention that already. Session on relating business problem. Yep, let's have a look at Nicola's comment here. So Nicola's saying, I'm right at the beginning of lead gen. I've recently messaged lots of my low-hanging fruit from my ex-corporate world and now need to start on the cold leads. Should I just start by email and get going? I've listed lots of sports companies as I'm going to initially specialise in those. Feeling a bit nervous about the cold contact, so been holding off. I mean, you can just start. You can just start and you can go for it. I don't generate a lot of work by cold contact work. I tend to focus on who do I want to work with, and then try and build a relationship with them or find an introduction and then follow up from there. We do some sort of generic stuff that goes out a little bit cold contacty, but what we do is quite niche, so it's easy for me to narrow down who's going to do it. You're narrowing down who's going to do it, who's going to buy from you anyway. So I think you can send out some cold contact stuff on them. What I would say is just remember that, like, them not being interested doesn't mean that they don't like what you're offering or that they don't want you. They will get lots and lots of cold contact stuff, and sometimes it just won't be the right time. Sometimes they'll already be buying. You will get much more response from people that you know or you're able to develop a relationship with. But sometimes the cold contact is the start of developing the relationship with them. What else is making you nervous about the cold contact? Tell me what's at the root of that. Sometimes it's rejection from people. Sometimes it's like that vulnerability piece. And I think people feel it more keenly with consumers, because consumers are generally making a pretty personal decision. With corporates, it's a much more clinical decision they're making. Yeah, definitely fear of judgment. Yeah, it is. It's that putting yourself out there, and if no one, you're like, oh, if no one wants it, no one buys, then no one wants me. That's just not the case in corporate. It could just be it's not the right time, it's not in their budget, it's not in their plan, they've not got around to looking at it. Like, remember that they are not going to look at everything immediately. Like, when I was buying as a head of profession, I wouldn't even see, like, no cold contact emails would really come to me because they would be filtered out by my PA. When I had been less senior than that, stuff would get through, and then I would look at it. I would basically take everything and throw it into like a reading file, and then at the end of every month I would flick through the reading file and delete what I didn't need. So don't assume like the minute you send it, it lands in someone's inbox, they read it, judge you and reject you. It's actually a much longer cycle than that. Oh, you're a perfectionist and you feel not right. So I am not a perfectionist, but I live with a perfectionist. My husband has ADHD and he is a perfectionist. It is amazing for things like a creative project that he's doing, like he's the most incredible workman and stuff like that, to just get some stuff done. I see the perfectionism, like cripple perfectionists all the time. So I do get that can be a really difficult challenge. What I would say is a corporate audience does kind of demand a higher standard of attention to detail, but if your messaging is not absolutely perfect, that's not going to be what makes the difference. Whether they're going to buy what you're offering is going to make the difference, not whether your messaging is absolutely spot on. And the thing with messaging for corporates is there is a bit of try it and see. So you kind of have to assume that if you put out 10 messages, 5 of them are going to be okay, 5 of them are not going to land. That's great information for you, because the 5 that don't land, you don't use again. So think of it as like a filtering process in the beginning. We put stuff out that I'm like, that's great, everyone's going to love that, they're all going to write to me, we're going to be inundated with work, the pipeline will be full, we'll have to hire 50 more staff. Silence. Or in America and Canada, as they say, crickets. And you're like, what, how did no one like that stuff? Like, what, how did that not work? Then we'll put something else out that I'm like, that's quite good, yeah, it's quite insightful, we'll see where it goes. And the next thing, like, it's on fire and everyone's like, this is the best thing you've ever written, like, can I share this with my friends? And you're like, what, that was not my best thing, you didn't like my best thing. So you just have to kind of like put some of it out and say, yeah, if it didn't work, it's a lesson. If it didn't work, it is a lesson. Or you also want practical stuff like having your whole sales process set up and ready. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is, do not have your whole sales process set up and ready for corporates, because quite often they will all buy from you in a different way and they want it to be done their way. So you could spend a lot of time doing that for it to be wasted, and you'll be devastated. The best thing you can do right now is grow your network and get people interested in what you're doing and get them realising that this is a service that you offer. Like, sometimes I would watch someone for a year or two before I would buy from them. We've got clients we know are watching us now and they probably won't buy from us until next year. So you're in such a long game in corporate. I mean, you can have people look at your stuff and be like, can you start next week? And you think, yeah, sure. Um, but you're in a long game, so don't let that like perfectionism hold you back. You need someone like me that will go, that's 80% done, get it out there. So if you know someone who will look at your stuff, or just say to you, well, we could spend another 6 months getting this perfect, or we could actually get it out and get some orders. Like get them to sort of prompt you or kick you or ask me to chase you, tell me you can put in here that you're going to put out a thing and it's going to be this and you're going to do it in this time frame, and I will come back and be like, is that thing out, Nicola, or are we like holding on to it for perfectionism? I'm quite good at getting perfectionists to get the stuff out, but then there are times where it's such a strength because the thing has to be right or it has to be perfect. Like it will stand you in good stead in a lot of ways working with corporates. But yeah, don't the I heard a great phrase last week. I was speaking at a retreat and there were two women there, called Donna and Cheryl, and someone was talking about, well, I was going to do this thing, but I had to get this perfect, and then I had to perfect this bit, and then I started procrastinating, and they said, oh, that's the technical scientific term for that is procrastifaffing, and I thought that's such a great phrase. I see people procrastifaff a fair amount, and partly what we're doing when we feel that judgment is we're using the procrastination to defer the judgment. So we're actually saving ourselves from that pain of judgment. You know, if you watch Brené Brown stuff, about the fear of shame and the fear of judgment, all we're doing is using that procrastination to save ourselves from that. And there's an element of sometimes we just have to take a big bloody deep breath and go for it, because not everyone is going to love our stuff. Like, some people are going to be like, I need the solution that you're offering and I'm never buying it from you. And we just have to get okay with going, well, I don't want you to buy it from me, because you want to be with people who want to buy your stuff, who want to work with you, who really engage with you, who engage with your process. Like, those are the clients you want, because those are the clients that are easy. Like, I was actually speaking to someone last week and they were talking about a bit of a nightmare client that they'd had, and they said, and now like I would never try and engage that type of client. Like, they worked so hard to get this person, and now it's, you know, and then it turned out to be horrible. And I'm saying we're in a really good position that on both of our businesses there are no clients that when I see them in my diary I go, oh, it's them. Every single client that we work with, I'm like, yes, we're doing this work together. And that's kind of what you want to build, and you will actually only get to that through people judging you and rejecting you, and people judging you and accepting you. And it's as painful as it's going to be, and we've all had that pain of going, God, I really wanted to work with them and they just don't want me. There's a million other contracts. um Let me see, you're slightly worried you haven't, I'm just going to read Nicola's message. She says, I think I'm also slightly worried I've actually built anything to sell, but I'm assuring myself in B2B it's about building the solution they want rather than having a package ready. Oh, you work with Donna and Cheryl too, and love that phrase. Yeah, they're super. I hadn't met them before. They're absolutely amazing. I loved them. And the phrase, I'm going to say it to my husband at some point, probably today, because he will not have packed. I've been away. I'm going to have to be like, are you procrastinating or are you packing? Um, Yeah, a lot of the time in corporate, they will want you to build a solution for them. It's, yeah, I knew what you meant. Sorry that you haven't built anything. Um, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. They're going to want you to have a solution, but they're not necessarily going to want you to have something pre-packaged. You might want to pre-package some stuff, but I would say you want to see what people are interested in first, unless you've got a very strong feeling. But I mean, how long is it going to take you? You're an expert in your field here. It's not going to take you that long to pull it together. Be like, this is what it looks like. It's not going to, you're going to be the main content. So you've already built you. You've already built your knowledge. It's not going to be a huge digital or technical build, I would assume, for corporate. And you certainly don't want to build something that you then get caught in the build of it before you actually put it out there. Have we got any more questions? Any more comments? Yeah, you feel like Nicola feels like you've got specific content together for what it is they want. Yeah, yeah, that's what they're going to look for. And if you decide actually I want to package something up, I'm sure you would. sit down and in a half day you'd write out what that's going to be and push it out there. You know, if you were going to do something specific for a set date or something, or a set time of year or something like that. It looked like I'd frozen there, but I was just looking to see if there were any more. I was just looking to check that I hadn't missed any comments or any questions. Not a problem, Nicola. But sometimes there's loads of people, so you only get a chance to have one or two questions. Other times you get loads of chance. So it just really depends. So I hope that's been useful. Um, I think it's just me and you now, actually. I think Neil's gone off. So I will probably call it a day there. I will look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. We've got training coming up, which is on pricing. Everyone's talking about pricing just now. I'll tell you the detailed insight of my pricing dilemma when we're on the pricing one. I was on a pricing roller coaster last week. I was up, I was down, I was all over. We're getting the work, I think. And now I'm like, damn, I should have priced it higher, which was my dilemma the whole time. But I'll actually tell you all the numbers that went alongside it, because it just gives you a bit of insight. So next week I won't really be around. I'll be in the group a little bit. I'll check any questions that come in, but I will pretty much be in Spain. And other than that, I will see you in 2 weeks for our next training session. And Nicola, thanks for coming along and being so engaging. I hope that's been really useful. And yeah, if you want prodded, or you want me to look at it, and just post it in the group and make sure you tag me. Sometimes Facebook's a nightmare at showing you stuff even in your own groups. So if you tag me, I always get the notification. But have a great rest of your week, folks, and a lovely weekend. See you later. Bye.